Let's start the game. White plays e2 pawn to e4 square. Black responds by e7 pawn in e5 square. White attacks e5 pawn by playing knight g1 in f3 square. Black defends e5 pawn by playing d7 pawn in d6 square. White again attacks e5 pawn by playing d2 pawn to d4 square. Black attacks f3 knight by moving c1 bishop to g4 square. White d4 pawn takes e5 pawn. Black g4 bishop takes f3 knight and attacks queen at d1 square. White queen in d1 square takes bishop in f3 square. Black d6 pawn takes e5 pawn. White moves his f1 bishop to c4 square to attack weak f7 pawn. Black defends f7 pawn by moving g8 knight to f6 square. White moves queen in f3 square to b3 square to double attack f7 pawn. Black moves f8 queen to e7 square to protect f7 pawn. White moves b1 knight to c3 square. Black plays c7 pawn to c6 square to prevent knight's forward movement. White pins f6 knight by moving c1 bishop to g5 square. Black attacks c4 bishop by moving his b7 pawn to b5 square. Knight c3 takes the attacking b5 pawn. Black's c6 pawn takes back b5 knight. c4 bishop takes b5 pawn and gives check to e8 king. Black knight in b8 square moves to d7 square to protect check. Black king enters queenside castling and rook d8 attacks knight at d7 square. Black's rook a8 moves to d8 square to protect d7 knight. White's rook d1 takes knight d7. Black's rook d8 takes rook d7. White moves h1 rook to d1 square. Black queen moves from e7 to e6 square to unpin f6 knight. White's b5 bishop takes the rook d7 and attacks queen and gives check to king at e8. Black's knight f6 takes the bishop at d7. White's b3 queen moves to b8 square, giving check to black king at e8. Black's d7 knight takes queen at b8. Finally, White's rook in d1 square moves to d8 square, giving check and mates the king at e8 square in support of g5 bishop.